Do you realize that you're stammering? I'm doubting that they were really 7 beers. You sound like someone who had at least 18 beers. You're really stammering your words. Actually, I was just pretending. Actually, I was just pretending to be nice. Hey guys, hey, and welcome to yet another video. If you hear some noise in my video, it's the rain. Even though it's the summertime, it does sometimes rain in the evenings, which I don't mind because it's pretty hot at this time of the year in Austria. We've had a very humid summer, not so comfortable. You know that kind of heat where it's like, and so when it rains in the evenings, at least it cools down. So I'll excuse myself before I even start the video if you hear some noise. And I think tonight we might have thunder again, like in my last video. I think there was thunder. And yeah, so welcome to the video. Thank you so much for all the love and the support. I've seen some of your DMs. We've had some, like, I would call successful conversations. I like that the kind of people who subscribe to this new channel. It's my new YouTube channel. I used to be on YouTube a couple of years ago and then I stopped and now I'm back. And the new people, thank you, by the way, for reaching the 100 subscriber mark and surpassing it. You reached it in 1 week after I asked. So thank you so much for that. And the new guys, I like that you're like a mature crowd and like thinkers. I want to create a small community of like just philosophers, people who think and talk about things openly. They're not afraid of criticism. I am not afraid of criticism as long as it's constructive. But you know what? Even if it's destructive, I won't block you. I won't hide your comment because I have a no block policy. I believe in freedom of speech. Now, I was recently in Malta. If you've been following me, then you've obviously seen the pictures, the videos, because I was like, oh, Malta. I had the time of my life. What I did not share, though, is that there was an incident. There was an incident. It was not all, yay, there was some, So, I would say 99.9% of my time there was positive, and then this happened. Whenever I vacation in a country, I like to stay in at least 2 or 3 different places just so that I maximize the experience. So like in this case, I stayed in 2 different resorts in 2 different islands in Malta, or like 2 different parts of Malta. And you know, I had to go to the second part on a boat, which was very nice and adventurous, and I loved it. And in one of those places, I will avoid saying where specifically, because the way the internet works is that people will then, if this happens to be watched by the wrong person, so to speak, they might blow it out of proportion, and then all of a sudden that resort is getting backlash, even though they did not do anything wrong, and they're then losing business. I don't believe in cancel culture at all. I believe that people make mistakes and people can be given a second, sometimes even a third chance, depending on the situation, situational ethics. I don't believe in like going all in with all your emotions just because something you don't like happened. That is some narcissistic BS. I mean, whatever happened there to me is not the worst thing that could happen. People have had, you know, rougher things happen to them, rougher situations. So take, for instance, this woman. If you go to the Brandon Gones show, there's a story he did about a woman who was beat up pretty badly by her white neighbor. He happened to be a white guy who did not want to live near black people. According to the story, if you look it online, it wasn't the first time that he had shown some hostility. And then after some time, he beat her up so badly, because her dog happened to run into his backyard. You can go and like watch the video or like research the story and see the background of it. It didn't start on that day. He just had something against her being a black person living near him. So such stories are not unique, and that's why I'm saying my case was not the worst thing that could happen, because people have had it rough. And now, an unpopular opinion, even in this case of this lady, I don't think that guy's life should be ruined because he did this. I think the law should step in and charge him, but his livelihood, if he has a shop somewhere, that should not be closed or shut down, because it feeds other people and it employs people. It provides employment. So I don't believe in cancel culture, that because somebody said or did something wrong, now let's just ruin their whole lives, and everybody else who might be their dependent should suffer as a result. I think that's just very malicious, and I'm not for that. If I call myself a Christian, I have to be willing to look at the bigger picture and give people a second chance, a third chance, like even a fourth chance. So I don't think that this particular white male who did this, like everything he owns should now be destroyed. He should be taken to a court of law, charged, and prosecuted the normal way. But if he has a shop somewhere, a business somewhere, it should be operational, because his actions should not affect the income that whatever he runs or whatever place he works at, whoever is a beneficiary, should not be affected because of that. That's just my stand. It might be an unpopular opinion to some, but that's what I believe in. Anyways, back to the video. So again, I'm not going to say like my situation was like very bad, this happened. I mean, I believe cancel culture is for very narcissistic people who think that they are the only ones who, a bad thing happened to. And granted, I'm not making any excuses for anything, anyone who does something bad. I'm just saying you can always count your blessings and say that, someone else probably had it rougher, and I'm not the first one that something bad happened to, and therefore don't ruin someone's whole life because they're having a bad day or because they made a mistake. That's all I'm saying. Again, back to the video. So I can calm down with that. I don't need to go on the internet and be like, so this place, this, even though it's not even the management's fault. The management cannot control how each and every guest conduct themselves. And I think I have that kind of mentality because I have worked. I feel like people who've not worked as adults are the ones who act very entitled. If something bad happens to them in a restaurant, they bring down the whole restaurant. They put it out on the internet, and then reviews are, flocking on that restaurant's TripAdvisor or like their page. Everybody's criticizing them. All of a sudden, the restaurant has to shut down because some people have matched there. They are attacking the people who had even nothing to do with it. And all of a sudden, people are losing their income, even though some of them might have families. I think it's such a narcissistic, unless it's something very extreme. You don't need to have people lose jobs because one stupid person did one thing. But that's just the way I view life. Again, maybe it's because I've worked and I know what it feels like to put in your blood, sweat, and tears. I'm 35 years of age and I've worked for over 10 years. So I know what it takes. I know what working is like. So anyways, I don't want to name this resort because, to be honest, the resort did not do anything wrong to me. As a matter of fact, they tried to better the situation, but it was kind of like out of their control. So this is what went down. Gosh, can't believe I'm telling this story finally. Publicly, because I had said I'm not going to share this with anybody. Nobody saw. Let's just leave it at that. I was embarrassed, I think. But after some time, I thought, you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. He's the one who did that to me. So like, I have nothing to be embarrassed about. As a matter of fact, the aggressor should be embarrassed. I wish I had his name so I can name him and shame him. So again, I don't think I would do that even if I had his name. Again, I just don't believe in cancel culture. It's not in me. I don't believe that people's whole lives should be ruined because they did something stupid once. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Like, people make mistakes. I'm not making any excuses for him though, because he was rough with me. So I'm just going to keep it neutral here and tell you what happened, and you can draw your own conclusions. So I was sitting in the Sky Lounge of the second resort because, like I said, I stayed in two different resorts, two different sides of the island. And you know how sky lounges can be nice and easy, some house music, people are drinking, having a good old time, not like a rowdy crowd, just like classy looking people. The beach is over there, you have a view of it, like it's just all nice. Everyone's chilling, no one's trying to start anything, right? And I was like sunbathing, and then I had my sunscreen, some cream, and I was just like doing that. And then I saw that there was a lady who was topless, a white lady. So I thought, yay, so that's allowed. So I also went topless, but I was like in my corner, not bothering anyone. And actually, my body was facing the beach. So, like, the people are sitting over there, and the topless lady was facing the people. So, when I saw that she was topless, I was like, honey, it's allowed. So let me just quickly point out that in Austria, where I presently live, it's not a big deal to see women topless at the lakes or by the rivers. Nobody cares. Nobody will really stare. Also, next door to us in Switzerland or like in Germany, in most Western countries, right, and most Scandinavian nations, it's the norm. Like it's normal to like be topless at the beach or by the lakes, right? And nobody will pay attention to you. However, of course, when you travel to a new country, you have to be careful because you don't want to offend. So when I saw that a lady was topless, I thought, okay, so it's allowed, right? Well, coming from Kenya, I also have to point out that we are very conservative in Kenya. So I didn't grow up going topless on the beaches in Kenya. I mean, I was born there, I went to school there, I was raised there, I went to like college there. My early adult life, early 20s were in Kenya. So basically, that's a European thing that I adapted over time because my house is in Austria. So I got used to it after some time. So, anyways, I just wanted to point that out, and now back to the video. So then I was facing the other side, so the people couldn't even like really see my breasts. Maybe the people downstairs could, but they're like on the what 12th floor, nobody cares, and it's vacation, right? So I'm just there like spraying myself, and I hear some commotion. So I'm like, what's the argument about? Little did I know it was about me. Like, there was a guy who was like, oh, I'll tell her to put on her clothes. Oh, I will. Like, he was arguing with some women he was with. And the women were like, just don't look at her. Like, leave her alone. And he was like, oh, like, he's not having it. So he comes up, and so mind you, I'm topless, I'm facing the other side, I'm spraying myself, minding my own business, listening to the music, I have my drink there, I'm just having a good old time. He comes and towers over me. He's standing there and he's like, do you mind? So like he's looking down on me like, do I mind? So now I'm like, boing! The twins, with the twins looking at him like, sorry? He's like, do you mind? I'm confused. I didn't even know that that's what he's talking about, because right in front of me there's a white lady who's topless, right? So, but she was a bit older than I am, maybe in her 40s. I'm in my 30s. Maybe she was or maybe even almost her 50s, and she had bigger. So I'm like, mind what? He's like, do you mind? We don't want to see your nudity. We don't need this. Like, you're in our view.
What?
So I'm like, excuse you, me? I'm like, can you just leave me alone? Because I don't even know what to do, what to say, because I thought, do I mind what? Like, did I take their glass? Like, I didn't even think that it was about me personally. And then the ladies come and they grab him and they're like, what is your problem? Like, they're telling him to go back. And I'm like, hey, leave me alone, okay? What do you mean? What do you mean? He's like, cover up. Nobody wants to see that. So I'm like, I'm not trying to have you see it. I am sunbathing. I don't, guys, when you don't expect someone to say something to you because you don't think that there's anyone who's crazy enough to just break that whatever it is that we walk with, like that, you don't go up to a stranger and break that thing. What is it? It's like an illusion of respect. Like, we all assume that strangers will respect you just like they expect you to respect them. So when you meet a wildebeest who breaks that and just comes to your face, you don't know what to say, because some people might be watching and be like, why did you not tell him that he is topless too? Because he was a guy with a without a top on. So you're topless, I'm topless, big deal. I could have said that, but these are things you think of later. At that moment, you have no answer. You're just like in shock, like he really broke that wall of respect, right? And he's in my face right now. He's intruding, like it's an intruder. It's like how you can sleep at home and somebody breaks in. You are not expecting them. It's a thief. You are not so I was not expecting this guy. So now I take off my sunglasses and I'm like, what do you want? The whole time I am topless. I am standing there like, what do you want? Like now I'm even angry, and the ladies are like pushing and pulling him, and they're like on his arm and saying, we told you, leave her alone, blah blah blah. I'm like, she's topless too. And then this white lady looks at me like, leave me out of it. And I'm like, wow, she wouldn't even like stand up for me. She wouldn't even like tell him to like back the F off. Which always makes me wonder, and I say this with a very unbiased, sober mind, if white women and black women can be true allies, if we can truly be allies. You see, before I moved to the West, I had heard African American women saying that when it comes to the question of feminism, they are overlooked, that women want to come together and fight misogyny, or like a society that puts men on a pedestal and does not expect women to have a voice or to complain. But black women always say that we are only together as long as we don't tell them that, oh, and by the way, we also face another sort of discrimination which you guys don't face, which is racism. They're never willing to listen to that. They would rather that let's just come together as women and fight the common enemy, quote unquote, which is a man. But then black women say to them, but you see, I also have to fight because I look different in predominantly white spaces. So I have two war fronts. I have to fight because I'm black, and then I have to fight because I am a woman. And what I have heard for years is that this normally falls on deaf ears. As soon as a white woman hears that, she turns away or like looks the other way. She doesn't want to have to deal with that. I used to hear that when I was growing up in Kenya, and I didn't quite relate because Kenya is predominantly black, right? And then I found myself in white spaces, and I was like, holy crap. As a black woman, every time I point out an injustice, it doesn't even have to be something to do with racism, just an injustice. It's like, why are you being a drama queen, Elizabeth? It's like, do you have to highlight that? It's like, we are too sensitive and too fragile to deal with whatever you're telling us. And I actually researched this, where people have written about white fragility and sensitivity. That whole mindset of like, that's too much for me to handle, uh leave me out of it, I don't want anything to do with that. And so I wanted to understand it better, because I've had white women who I took as allies. I thought, they're women like me, we're working together, we are on the same team here. I've had them utter such words to me like, that's too much for me, right? Elizabeth, don't be a drama queen. Leave me out of it. So I wanted to find out, like, is it me? Because I wanted to find out, like, what is that about? And so talking to other black women, whether it be on the internet or back at home in Kenya, or like in person here in Austria, or next door to us in Germany, I know a couple of black women there, and most of them I met them online. Just talking to them and their experiences, and also questioning some of the white ladies who are willing to listen and like have a discussion on it, I came to a conclusion. I sort of like came up with a theory. The way the world is set is in such a way that Some countries are still struggling. They are third world countries. Some countries are second world countries, and some countries are first world countries. We all know why, right? We all know that in some African countries, apart from the historical injustices, we still have puppet leaders, and we still have countries that are being exploited by the West to date, with like unnecessary wars, with like puppet leaders having the citizens of that country pay taxes to the West. Did you know that there are some African countries that still pay taxes to France, for instance? Like, there's still colonization, only this time, not with like chains and shackles, right? And so, because of that kind of history and the exploitation that is still ongoing, we as Black people come from a different socio-economic and political background, right? We are used to difficult situations. We are used to taking the bull by its horns. We are used to talking about our grievances and asking for justice. While in the West, in the first world countries, they are used to a comfortable lifestyle, a soft start. Maybe not all of them. Some of them obviously will have had it rough, but not as much as someone in some poor nation in Africa or somewhere in the Caribbeans, right? So, like, they cannot handle something that makes them uncomfortable, something that makes them question their privilege. And I know a lot of people don't like that word privilege because they say there's no such thing as white privilege. I'm not here today for that argument, but I'm just saying that I have seen it firsthand that they get pretty uncomfortable when you want to involve them in your battle. So they will tell you, we are fighting in the feminism battle where we want women to be treated fairly and equally. But when you say, hey guys, I also have to fight a completely different battle, which is something to do with my background, my skin color, who I am, my ethnic background, they don't want that, right? Because that makes them very uncomfortable. So, like, again, the question is, can white and Black women truly be allies? Because that's where I normally wonder, like, are these people truly allies? Even in this situation, me telling her, hey, look, you're topless just like me, and look at the way he's shaming me, look at the way he's in my face. She just gave me that look that I know from working in white spaces. I know that look of like, hey, leave me out of your nonsense, leave me out of your drama. I want nothing to do with it. That is your problem, right? So look at this guy, for instance. Just look at this guy. Doesn't he look like a lovely white guy with like his lovely Christian wife, right? Just look at them. You wouldn't be able to say that there's anything wrong with this couple. Well, that is because you don't know that this man from North Carolina punched an 11-year-old Black girl in the face, knocking her out because he thought she was being rowdy. She was being annoying. And his wife was standing right next to him. And his wife did not react. She did not say anything before the punch, or maybe she did. Maybe she encouraged him to punch her to get her out of their way, or whatever, I don't know. But she did not even say anything after. So, like, there's that silence that can really harm a fellow woman. But since she's not of your race, it's like, she's not my problem, right? So, can we truly be allies? Because I've seen this happen even in spaces where a white guy will be disrespectful towards me, and sadly, a lot of Black men don't protect us. I'm not even going to lie about that. White men protect their women very much. A lot of Black men do not protect us. I've made a video about that. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. I think I titled it, Do Black Men Hate Black Women? That's a whole other story. And I've seen it firsthand, even in workspaces, where a white guy will protect me faster than a Black guy. But if there is a white aggressor, a man who is aggressive, a white woman won't like go out of her way to protect me. I've also seen that even in workspaces where it's like, Elizabeth, don't exaggerate it, right? Don't exaggerate it. Don't be a drama queen. Maybe other white guys might feel bad for me and actually protect me, but not a white woman and not a Black man. In that sense, Black men and white women act the same. I have seen also other Black women say the same thing, because I know Black women who've also worked or lived in white spaces, and we've had that discussion. It's like, a white guy will protect you faster than a black man will when it comes to like you getting attacked as a black woman, which is pretty sad. But anyways, back to the video. And you might be watching this up until this point and think, why am I highlighting that she was white? I am highlighting that she was white because I am a black woman living in predominantly white spaces, and I've seen the double standards when it comes to shaming our femininity. So anyways, a waitress came and she was like, can I just talk to you? And I thought she was going to tell me to dress up, because this time I was being defiant. I was being rebellious. I'm not even putting on my top now. Now you will see them babies the whole evening. I was being, defiant because he had shocked me and he had upset me. So, the waitress who I had talked to earlier, so I knew she was Polish, nice lady. We had talked earlier when I was checking in and what have you. She comes to me and she sort of like whispers to me, like in the corner there's a parade outside. Sorry guys if you hear some drums. Austrians can be dramatic like that. Like in the summer there's a parade for this, there's like marching for can you hear it? They love music. That's one thing about Austrian culture. Anyways, the Polish lady had been nice to me earlier, so she calls me to the side and she goes like, that guy is a Hungarian. So I'm like, so what? She's looking at me like, he's a Hungarian, stop talking back to him. So I'm like, I don't care what he is. I am topless, and he starts to attack me when there's literally another topless woman who looks like him, and he says nothing to her, and the only reason I'm topless is because I got comfortable. Since she was topless, I got comfortable to do it, and then all of a sudden I'm offending him, I'm offending people with being topless, and this whole time I'm still topless to the waitress. So I'm like, I need the manager to come out here. Oh, I was Karen. I was like, I'm not having this. Call the manager. Well, actually, I was not being Karen. He was being a Karen, but you get what I mean. I was like, manager, please. And she's like, wait, before I even call anyone, stop talking back. Stop talking back. I'm like, what do you mean? Are you the next one? Because also the topless lady told me to leave her out of it. She's like, no, I'm on your side, and this is why I'm telling you, stop talking back to him. I'm like, what do you mean though? He's insulting me, so I am defending myself. And she was like, he's Hungarian. The whole time she keeps on saying he's Hungarian, he's Hungarian. I'm like, what? She's like, Lord. She's like, you told me that you live in Austria, right? I'm like, yes, that's Western Europe. Like, you're still thinking that you're arguing with an Austrian man. This is why you're very much in his face as well, because you're yelling. When he yells, you're yelling back. When he talks, you're talking back, because in your mind, you're thinking that you're still arguing with like Austrians and Belgians and Danish people. You're arguing with an Eastern European man. And I'm like, so what? What will he do? Hit me? He's not gonna hit me. I'm a woman. We're just gonna... And she's like, don't be so sure about that. So I don't know what she meant about that, but she told me, I'm a Polish woman, and I'm telling you right now, stop arguing with that Hungarian man. And I'm like, whatever. At this point, I don't even care what kind of Eastern European politics was going on, because Poland is also Eastern Europe, and apparently she knows something that I don't know, but she was really telling me to shut it and not to talk back. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So anyways, the manager came, and when he was leaving, I was still topless, going like, you're broke anyway. You can't even afford to stay here. And the reason why I told him you can't even afford to stay here wasn't because he's from Eastern Europe. It was because when the manager came to interrogate us and find out what was happening, it was one of those people who walk into a hotel or resort and sit in the restaurants in there and get served drinks. Like, they were not a guest there. Him and the two girls. So maybe that's why the two girls didn't want any trouble, because they don't even have a room there. So like when the manager was asking us for our room numbers, he said like, we're not staying here. We're just here to like visit the bar, the Sky Lounge. F off! He was still talking something. I was talking something. And then the Polish lady was like, I'm telling you, that's a Hungarian man. He could wait for you. He could wait for you down there. I'm like, let him. But in real sense, the next day I didn't go to the beach, just in case he's down there. Because I was alone, I wasn't with my man. What? I was scared. But like I couldn't show him that I'm scared. So I was like, F off! Go to hell! You can't even afford it anyway. And you can't even afford to stay here anyway, you broke ass. And I was like, showing him my movie. I hope no one has a video of that because, girl, it was like a bad situation. But like the hotel apologized, and then they like scolded the people who work in the restaurant and said, why wouldn't you ask for room number, and like I guess should say their name, you check on the list if they're there. We're so sorry madam, complimentary drinks. I love it when I don't have to pay for something. So they compensated for that. And I still thought, like, what did the Polish woman mean? I don't even care about that. But I thought about it for a minute there, because she was like, don't argue with Eastern European men. Just don't do it. And this is not an Austrian man. I'm topless. Big deal. Be sure to subscribe. If there's anything you liked or anything you agreed with or even anything you disagreed with, subscribe, because I'm trying to like create a small community here of thinkers. We can share ideas, and I'd be happy to answer and just discuss stuff with you, food for thought. And you can also DM me on my Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless you. Ciao.